Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the FAA Board of Selectmen Highway Commissioner, Cemetery Commissioners meeting of Monday, April 28, 2025, 6:30 p.m. This meeting is being recorded, and for the record, the chair of the FAA just dropped something at home, I think, is dialing in tonight. So the first order of business would be Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to call the FAA into session.
Yes, what is it, April 28th,
Yes.
6:35.
6:35, I'll call the FAA to order.
Thank you. Number 2 on the agenda is approval of minutes, 4/14/25. What is the board's pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, with the absence of Ms. DeShane, there are no minutes to approve.
Thank you. We will defer those to at least the next meeting. Number 3, citizens' comments. Anybody wishing to speak on an issue that is not on the agenda and does not require a vote of the Board of Selectmen? Step up. Seeing none. Appointment, 4A, Edward Hart, Animal Control Inspector, term to expire 6/30/2026. Town Administrator, Mr. Rhoda.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Hart has come forward based on a posting that we've had out for about a month or so. He is the animal inspector in several neighboring communities, including Oxford. The police chief and I and Olivia have had a chance to interview him. He seems very interested. He's certainly well qualified for the position, and I would recommend that you appoint him as our animal control inspector with a term to expire of 6/30/26.
Mr. Hart, would you like to come up and say a few things?
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
My name's Ed Hart. I worked for the town of Oxford for the last 9 years as both an animal control officer and animal inspector. 5 years for the town of Charlton as their animal control officer and inspector. I also work for the International Fund for Animal Welfare, where I do disaster response, animal search and rescue, sheltering, and all over the world.
Interesting, thank you. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Hart? Hearing none. Anybody from the audience, anything they'd like to add? This time I'll call to a vote to appoint Ed Hart, Animal Control Inspector, term to expire 6/30/26.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Landry, second by Mr. Sigenovich. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Next up, we have a third public meeting for Water Main Extension Project, Eagle Drive, Fairview Ave neighborhood, Ty Bond with Town Council. So if Ty and Bond, we have 3 seats here if you folks want to come up. And as Ty and Bond is coming up, I will just defer it to Town Council. He can introduce himself. Everybody probably knows who he is, but
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Jeffrey Blake. I'm here from KP Law. And as you can, as Mr. Chair just said, we're here to give you some information regarding a possible water line on Eagle Drive. And these folks are here to answer any technical questions. They'll give their brief overview of the project and answer questions. And I'm here to answer any legal questions that you may have.
so at this time I'll let the Ty and Bond folks introduce themselves, starting with Mr. Faulkner.
Thank you. My name is Jeff Faulkner from Ty and Bond. I have 2 colleagues here, Darwin Cevallos and Audrey Starbird. They'll be co-presenting with me tonight. So we're here as a way of discussing some information regarding a potential water main extension. And As I discussed, those are the parties that we have here. We also have a colleague, Elizabeth Hanna, who's also involved in the project. A little bit of an agenda for this evening. I'm going to speak a little bit as an overview of the project, how we got here, and some background, and then we'll turn it over to my colleague Darwin, who will speak a little bit as to what the water main project would be like in the roadways of the project area, and Audrey is going to focus on what the work would be like in the private parcels. For me, a little bit more on what I'm going to speak to, a little bit of the background, what the proposed permanent solution is, a little bit about the project anticipated schedule, the funding and budget for the project, discuss some benefits of the project, and a little bit about the design process. So as you may know, in 2021, the Indian Road landfill, town of Dudley, detected some PFAS in some on-site monitoring wells. And in the following year, 2022, Gentex also reported PFAS in an on-site monitoring well on their property. The town and Gentex have separately been working with licensed site professionals called LSPs to do testing in the neighborhood on private wells, and found detections in some private wells at levels above the regulatory limit for drinking water. Here's a little map of the neighborhood with some of the sampling results. Several houses, I believe 15, have POET systems right now with the potential for additional POETs. POETs are point of entry treatment systems in individual houses. Next slide. So what the recommended solution for the project is to extend the Dudley public water system, which is not too far away on Fairview Avenue, to service or potentially service the houses on Fairview and on Eagle Drive. That line is the red line that you can kind of see on the roadways, connecting at Fairview, Joseph, and Eagle Drive. From a water main design and construction perspective, we're currently ongoing in the preliminary design phase, which is mainly a data gathering phase, with the goal of having the design moved to the 90% level by September of this year. It will then enter a permitting phase over the fall and early winter, September to January, with the goal of being 100% complete on the design by February of 2026. It would then enter a public bidding phase process, anticipated for February, March 2026, with the awarding and contract phase to a construction contractor in the April to June time period. The construction is contingent upon funds being appropriated at the May 19th Dudley Town Meeting. If that occurs and the design is complete and ready for public bid, then the anticipated construction schedule would be to start construction in the summer of 2026, be substantially complete by the summer of 2027, with site restoration being complete by fall of 2027. A little bit on project funding. The design aspect that we're in right now is being paid for by a grant that the town received. The construction funding is anticipated to be through the State Revolving Fund loan program. The town applied for and is on the funding list to receive this loan. This is a common way in which infrastructure, water and sewer is constructed in Massachusetts with some benefits, including, in the case of this project, principal forgiveness and a 0% interest loan up to a 30-year term. The minimum principal forgiveness anticipated is 9.9%, but it could be higher once all the projects for this year are fully designed and out to bid. It is anticipated that there will be a cost share with Gentex. The town is coordinating that. However, we provide the following budget for conceptual aspects of the project at this point in time. The bottom line is a $14.2 million budget, of which a little over $10 million is anticipated to be SRF eligible, and a little over $4 million is considered SRF ineligible. A little bit more on budget dollars. So in this slide, we show some hypothetical project cost shares. The eligible part is the part that's eligible for principal forgiveness. And at the 9.9% minimum, that comes out to just about $1 million of potential principal forgiveness, which would adjust the project cost to $13.2 million. Just a hypothetical 50-50 cost share with Gentex would kind of bring the town's bottom line to a little over $6.6 million anticipated budget. A little bit on life cycle costs of a water main versus maintaining poets by the town. The town's LSP in April of 2024 anticipated an annual budget for the town of $425,000 annually for the sampling and the poet systems. And as a reminder, on the previous slide, we mentioned $6.6 million as the potential town's bottom line. That's a one-time cost. Water mains generally have a 75-plus year life expectancy. Some are over 100 years and are still active. But for this exercise, we assume 75 years. We're also assuming a 3% annual inflationary increase on the LSP Poet Systems annual cost. So on the next slide, we present a life cycle table. What you see here is years 1 through 38 on the left, years 39 through 75 on the right. The tan columns are Poet Systems in both annual cost and cumulative cost, and the light shaded blue columns are the water main installation cost. So the bottom line is that over the 75 years, based on this analysis, the water main will cost the town roughly $6.6 million, and operating and maintaining Poet Systems for 75 years could be on the order of $116 million.
Jeff, that's just assuming the poet's in place right now.
I believe it includes up to 25 more based on the
Okay.
EPA regulations.
With a 3%.
3%
Right.
annual inflation, yes.
Thank you.
So this shows, based on those numbers, that the break-even point is on year 13. But obviously, the bottom line is the water main is a cheaper solution for the town in the long run. A little bit information on private wells versus becoming a water customer. Someone that owns a private well has costs of their own to operate their private well. This includes a pump replacement every so often. For this calculation, we assumed every 10 years at a $2,500 pump cost, and a pressure tank every 10 years, $1,000, and about $50 a month in electricity usage. So that comes out to a hypothetical annual cost for operating a private well of roughly $950 per year. Based on the average customer in Dudley residential, the current FY25 and FY26 rates are on the slide. The average residential customer uses approximately 13,100 gallons per quarter. And that, I won't go through the math on the slide, but it comes out to a little over $800 per year for the average water bill. This does not list out costs for POET system maintenance. If a private homeowner maintains their POET system, that is very specific and variable based on the individual house, the contaminants, contaminant concentrations, and so forth. The project were to move forward and a homeowner decided to sign up for a water service, the town's project would do the construction work on the private parcel. And a little bit of a summary here of a typical theoretical parcel, not specific to any parcel in Dudley, but we do know that there is rock in the area, so we included some rock excavation, and then 7 or 8 line items for all the things that would likely be required on the private parcel. So we are showing about $62,000 worth of work that would occur on a typical parcel that the town would pay for. A few thoughts on the benefits of the project. One of the benefits would be to satisfy the IRA, the immediate response action that the town is under for the project. It would also provide drinking water to the homeowners in the neighborhood, which is regulated by the Mass DEP, the EPA, the Safe Drinking Water Act, and the drinking water is treated and operated by licensed professionals. It also has an additional benefit of providing neighborhood fire protection. The design process that we're currently in lists 10 or 12 different bullets up on the slide. We're currently looking to obtain existing utility information, having meetings with the town, having survey performed, looking to have subsurface exploration done to determine the quantity of rock we expect to remove. There is wetlands in the vicinity, so we would anticipate a submission to the Conservation Commission. There is hydraulic modeling involved. We would like to get into the basements of houses that would like to connect to understand the best place to connect them. We prepare design plans and specifications for public bidding purposes, go through permitting tasks, coordinate with the funding agency, and then ultimately assist the town in getting the project out to bid. So that is considered the overview. I will now turn it over to Darwin to talk about work that would be occurring in the roadway.
Hi, everybody. I'm just going to talk a little bit about what's going to happen in between the right-of-way, roadways, basically, and Audrey will talk about what's happening in the private side, private parcels. I'll be covering basically the brief discussion on the water system in Dudley, the water main construction steps, fire hydrants and valves that you're gonna see in the street, in the neighborhood, water main testing that we have to do once the water main is installed, a few culvert crossings that we identify on the project site. We also gonna have a traffic management discussion and roadway paving at the end when the project is complete. The Dudley public water system currently has 4 groundwater sources, 3 pumping stations, 1 PFAS treatment facility, which was active on December 2023, and 2 water storage tanks, 1 booster pump station, and approximately 40 miles of water main. Here you see on the picture there, you see the PFAS water treatment plant that were now operational since 2023, and supplying drinking water with non-detectable levels of PFAS is basically what the residents who have now have is a miniature version of this in their homes, treating the homes water right now. So the proposed work, we propose in the connection of the public water, connecting to the Dudley's public water system, and we have 3 connections we identify, as Jeff mentioned, in Eagle Drive, Joseph Street, and also in Fairview Avenue. We're proposing about 7,150 feet of pipe to be installed, roughly around 1.4 miles of water main, and we still deciding whether it's going to be an 8-inch or 12-inch water main. That will be determined by the hydraulic model that we're going to conduct. Houses connecting, the process will be talked a little more in detail by Audrey ahead. Houses that are not connecting, the town, for this project, if a resident decides not to connect to a house, the town will provide a stub to the property line. As you can see on the picture there on the left, is on the right side is a typical water service from the street all the way to the basement of the house. The town will provide service all the way to the property line, and the homeowner will, if decides not to connect, will connect at a later time from the property line to the basement. And at that point, at that point, the homeowner will be responsible for the cost if you don't sign up on the sign up period that we have. Here we have a typical picture of a water main replacement project that we have done in the past. Here the only difference is that the water mains being removed, and old water mains being removed, and new water mains being put in the same place. In this case, we have just a brand new water main going in there. The typical trench size are 4 feet wide and about 7 feet deep the most. Water main has to be about 5 feet deep of cover. And so for this one, the contractor during the construction, they will come in. They will notify the neighbors about the works coming in weeks ahead, and then prior to get to their driveways, they will notify folks about they're about to cross the driveway, so they can move their cars out of the way, and that way they can come back and park it in the afternoon. The hours are typically from 7 to 3:30. They're done and out. Trenches are usually left backfill, compacted, and at the end of the week they usually come back and pave it with the 2 inches of temporary pavement. But if the weather becomes an issue, they typically come and pave it in the same day or the next day to make sure the roadways are drivable. And for this type of work, usually typically we have 2 police officers on site. We have a construction observer that will be the eyes for the town during the construction, so that way the people can communicate with somebody in there. Instead of calling the town, they can talk to a construction observer on site about any issues they might have or see during the construction work. For this job, we anticipate about 14 hydrants that will be installed in the neighborhood. Providing extra fire protection. The picture there we show is a typical gate valve on the left, the red gates in there. They will be buried. The only thing you will see is just a little top, cast iron top on the road, and it will be flat with the road. And you will see hydrants like the yellow one on the right side on the 14 different locations within the neighborhood. For this project, we, like I said before, we had 3 culverts that we anticipate crossing. During the design phase, we were going to figure out whether we're going to go over the culverts, depending on the coverage that we'll have, or we go under. A Couple of methods are trenchless technology, which we put the pipe under the culvert without digging the street, which will have some pits on each side, and we should be directional drilling the main under the culvert. But if subsurface information comes out to be too rocky and it's not suitable for directional drilling, we will go back over there and do a open trench dig and dig it up and put the main under the culvert. And the culvert will be untouched and will be put back together the way it is, and it won't be any disruption on the flow. Once the water main is put in place, you typically do a pressure testing of the main to ensure that the water main doesn't have any leaks. If they do have any leaks, the contractor will fix them at the time. And then once again, we'll do a pressure test again until the test is successful. Once the pressure test pass, contractor will go in and disinfect and then do bacteria testing of the water to make sure it passes, and then abides by the AWWA standards. Once that passes, then the contractor is open to start tying in individual homes to the main. On all our projects, we provide a traffic management plan with our plans for the contractor to use as the guidelines, and then we make sure we have in there about how they're supposed to put signage, the distance between the signage, and for this project, we anticipate that the road will be only one lane will be closed at a time. You will have the road will be open to emergency vehicles and buses, school buses, and then also this project we also will have police detail present on site to manage the flow, especially with school buses and bus stops. We need to make sure the kids get to the bus stop safely and they can return home safely. Finally, when the main is done and the servers are connected, the final step is to do a trench paving. And for this one, we do temporary trench paving, and that usually stays on the road for at least 90 days prior to the final paving. That will allow the trench to settle during the winter months, and then the next, on the springtime, the contractor can come in and do a final trench paving, so it will be permanent at that point. This one, Audrey will talk about the private parcels.
Thanks, Darwin. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about the work on the private parcels. I'm going to brief overview of what's I'm going to be discussing. We're going to talk about the water service pipe design coordination, talk about homeowner surveys, talk about the water service installation, the connection to basements and the water meters, private well abandonment, and then the restorations of the yards. So the water service, this is on the private parcels. Brief overview, we're gonna coordinate design to minimize impact on the private parcels. For the water services, this includes taking a look at where the lawns, driveways, landscaping are, and making sure everything is fully restored. Existing wells will be decommissioned. They will not be able to be used for outdoor water use. This is per Mass DEP. Construction equipment will enter the property to install the new service, decommission your well, etc. And then there's an option to sign up. So for those who do choose to sign up, this will allow access through construction for the design process and the construction and installation. So the water service design coordination, we're going to provide, I'll talk about it in the next slide, but a homeowner survey where we would like to talk with the property owners to understand their property specifically, brief sketches including where their existing well is, where the water line comes into the home, where the basement connection is, septic field locations. Jeff mentioned as well, we'd also be conducting basement inspections for those who choose to connect, where we would come in and take a look at the basement, understand where the well line comes in, and make sure we understand where the new water service would come as well. Based on all of that information, meeting with the property owners for the basement inspection, we anticipate having 2 meetings this fall for one-on-one resident feedback, and this would be to have them provide we'll see where their water service is going and then be able to provide design input on their property. So these homeowner surveys I'd mentioned, once a homeowner signs up to receive this service, they will be issued a survey. Basically, we'll try to assist them in designing where their house is, understanding what features they have, whether, you know, they have landscaping features, driveway, where their septic and leach fields are, if there's a finished basement that should know about, where their well is located, if there's any additional features, decks, sheds, patios, any buried information of potentially propane tanks or irrigation piping would be important, just this process. Then all that information gets turned into what we're showing here is a sample design. Basically, this one is just showing what it would look like when we meet with those homeowners on the one-on-one discussions. This one shows a private well in the backyard, so they're taking the water service all the way in the back for a connection, avoiding the front yard that has the leach field in it. Also avoiding the driveway, so it's running right alongside the driveway into the backyard. Basically, we're going to try to work with the homeowners and figure out the best route to minimize disturbance. This is just an example of a water service installation showing along the driveway, similar to the image before. Trench digging will need to occur, so there will be some disturbance in the yard. There will be machinery on the driveway and yard. There may need to be some shrubs or trees removed. Typical service is a 1-inch plastic pipe, but as you can see, the trench is wider than a 1-inch pipe. It's the size of a bucket of the machine. And then after that's all installed, the restorations will occur, whether it be grass, driveway, walkways, etc. The typical water service, this might be a little bit hard to see, but this is what we'll show on our design plans of the service connecting to the water main out in the street. There'll be a curb stop at the property line, and then taking it in all the way into the home itself and connecting back into the existing plumbing. It's shown here. So the image here, I guess I'll talk about, is there's the before and after. The before is this home was on a private well. The after is now they are now connected to the public water system. The water meter will be installed in the basement. A licensed plumber will come into the home and do this connection and tie back into the existing water service into the home. Private well abandonment. Private wells will need to be abandoned. This includes removal of the pump, disconnecting the existing water and electrical, cutting and filling the existing well, and then restoring the site. Final restoration, the impacted driveways will be repaved. When it's growing season, the lawns will be restored, the trees and shrubs will be planted, and then the walkways as well will be restored to basically how they were at existing conditions when the contractor came onto site. And then, as mentioned, this is optional for the residents to choose to connect. So there is a sign-up form. Right now, we have a deadline of June 30th to connect at no cost. I do have some forms here for those residents who are in attendance to take with them if they'd like to look at that sign-up form. If you do choose to not connect at the time of the project and hold off on a later date, it'll be at your own expense. And then just a benefit, or I guess just a cost comparison. I know Jeff discussed it, but you'll no longer have to pay for the electricity and maintaining of the private well pump and other items as part of once connected to the public water system. So with that, I thank you all for listening to our presentation.
So before I do comments from the crowd, I'll ask any board member any comments? Questions?
Comment?
Yep.
I like like the comparison between continuing going the way we're going with the POET systems and the maintenance as opposed to what it would cost for the line, and it even shows a break-even year at year 13, meaning at year 13 we would have paid for the POET systems what we would have paid to have the line done. And basically anything after year 13 on the POET systems is an extra expense. And that keeps going in perpetuity at how much ever someone wants to increase it. It spells it out what the pragmatic, simple decision to do to save money is. I like that. Thank you.
Landry,
All set, sir.
FAA members, want to add anything?
I have a question. So you mentioned somebody might have propane on one side of the house, so you'd go on the other. What if the sump pump drainage is on the opposite side? Would you go in through the front and add piping?
That's one of the reasons why we have quite a bit of due diligence, I guess I'll call it. But, we're looking for the homeowner surveys. We're gonna, hopefully with those in hand, we'll be out there meeting with the property owners to see what the best route is. And it's hard to answer that, but we'll try to avoid as much as possible.
Yeah, the items that we can't really address are the leach fields. We need to stay away from those. So if there were like a propane tank, we would have the ability to relocate or replace that if that was kind of in the way, but we wouldn't really be able to do that for like a leach field.
Mr. Boosie?
Yes, I was wondering, was the increase in cost of utilities accounted for in the 75-year projection for the water line?
No, because the water line itself would be a fixed cost in year one. It would be paid over time, but that cost would be bid out, and a contractor would give a cost in year one to construct, so that did not need escalation.
I was accounting for the model for what the resident would be paying when you compared the well versus line.
Oh, yeah, so the slide that talked about comparing a water bill versus owning a private well, those were just year one costs. They would both escalate over time, and they were approximately the same value in the $800 per year range. So didn't do quite an exercise to show how that would increase over 75 years.
And was the extra load on our town water system already factored in for something that is possible for the pumps and stuff that we have set up already? Or is that something that's, I just don't know quite yet?
Yeah, the water department has commented in the past that they can connect these houses.
Just wanted to double check.
Anybody else on the FAA? Mike?
Yeah, hi, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yep.
Hello?
Yeah, you're good, Mike.
Yeah, I just have one quick question for Jeff. I might have got cut out a little bit. You said net cost for the town somewhere in the $6.5 million. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, I don't know, are you able to see the slides, Mike?
No, I'm not. I'm in a car.
Okay. So the project budget is $14.2 million.
Yeah.
The calculation to get to 6.6 is about $1 million for principal forgiveness, which brings it down to about 13.2. And then just an assumption between the town and Gentex of a 50-50 cost share. The town would need to incur the appropriation of the full 14.2 million for public bidding purposes and funding agency purposes. But assuming that there's a 50-50 cost share, the town's bottom line could end up in a $6.6 million range.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You good, Mike?
You good?
Attorney Blake, anything you want to add before I open up to the crowd?
I did want to just say one thing, and I want to reiterate there. We're going to go to town meeting, and you're going to ask for $14.2 million. You have to do that to qualify for the SRF. We have to show in that state revolving fund money. That's the 0% interest and forgiveness from 9.9 up to, I think it's 30% max. And so the town will have to say that we can borrow that and approve that borrowing. However, as we just heard, there is going to be a cost share, there is a reduction, so ultimately, it looks like the town would be on the hook for about 6.6 million. I think that's important, because 14.2 million is a big number. I mean, 6.6 is a big number, but it's a heck of a lot less than 14.2.
Gary, excuse me, Gary.
Yeah, one more thing. On this slide that I liked with the break-even year, is there a way that we could get an estimated yearly payment for what it would cost for that, just to do an apples to apples? Because on one end, we're listing what it would cost by the year, and on the other side, we've got a lump sum. I think apples to apples would really bring it all together for people.
For the payment on the bond. I think, Mr. Chair, through you, I think at one point, I asked those questions, and I believe that it would be about, I thought it was like $330,000 a year on the bond.
319.
It might have been 319. Obviously at this point, the numbers, we have to wait and see. They may come in a little under budget. They put in a lot of contingencies here. But I believe it was about 319, 325. So that's what you'd be paying to pay off the bond versus the 425,000 for the poets. And just to be very clear, as this thing blooms, we may be required to remediate, every house down there. It's an ongoing thing. We continue to test. DEP requires us to continue to test, and these things have a way of just expanding.
Yep.
If it did expand, the LSP sampling and poets would also expand.
That's what my point is. Exactly right. But if you put a water line down the road, it doesn't matter if it expands all the way down that road. You got a water line, so nobody will be testing any wells anymore because there won't be any.
I guess what I'm saying is the piece in blue, option 2, that will be a fixed amount, where option 1 is going to go up every year in perpetuity, where option 2 is going to end at the 30-year mark, where option 1, again, going up estimated 3%. Could be more, could be less, who knows? But it's there forever. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep, so before I open up to the public, I'm gonna give an offer to the water superintendent or the water department just to verify what Jeff Faulkner said about water capacity in that neighborhood.
Yeah, there's enough capacity in the neighborhood for that neighborhood.
So for the people at home, that was the water superintendent, George Petrinos. Thank you, George. So I'm gonna open up to the public. Everybody's gonna get a chance to speak. I was not at the last 2 meetings. One of my board member colleagues was. I just want to be clear, we're here to information, to try to help, try to solve this issue. If you're asked to step back from the microphone to give somebody else a chance, please know that you'll have another chance to speak. There was some disruptions at the last meeting, and I spoke with town council before the meeting, and I spoke with the police chief before the meeting. If there's disruptions or if there's comments, when you're out of order, you'll be asked one time to please remain in order. If you continue or if you prolong a discussion without being recognized, you'll be asked to leave. If you choose not to follow instructions, at that second warning or action, you will be then asked to leave by the police chief. It's not an intent to intimidate anyone. It's not a threat to anyone. There's people that might have serious questions, and if it's disruptive, it has to be addressed. So I'm just asking everybody for their cooperation beforehand, and I'm sure everybody agrees. So at this point, I see a hand in the back. I'll recognize the first person. And as usual, we ask everyone to recognize themselves at the microphone. A general, you don't have to say your exact house address, where you live, and you're a member of the town. Thank you.
Durgan, 68 Eagle Drive. First question is to Ruda. You said that we needed to borrow the $600,000 grant before we received it, and we didn't borrow for it. That failed at town meeting. So is this the same type of thing, that we have to borrow for this $14 million and then we're just going to magically get it if it fails?
I'm going to defer the question to the town council, as he already indicated how the borrowing is going to work.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So the $600,000 that we tried to borrow, the town tried to borrow at town meeting, we were anticipating the grant. As you can see, and I think you've in prior meetings, you and others have complained about the compressed schedule here. What we were hoping to do is we were hoping to borrow the $600,000. When we got the grant for $600,000, we would have paid that back. But it would have allowed us to start this project much, much quicker instead of being under a very compressed schedule, because the SRF funding requires a pretty compressed, a schedule, and the further down the road we went without the money, the more compressed it got. So what we were going to do, what the town was going to do, was going to borrow the $600,000 and then pay it back with the grant. That didn't happen, so we had to wait until the grant was made, the monies were made available, and that happened, I want to say, 6 weeks ago?
You know, more than that, but it's been tight.
Yeah, so we now have the grant, so we now have the money, so we've retained tie and bond. With respect to the 14.2 million, if it fails at town meeting, no, there's no grant out there for 14.2 million. This is a SRF, state revolving fund loans. And like there is principal forgiveness, so I guess, some of it will be not paid back and 0% interest. But if we don't get the $14.2 million appropriated at town meeting, then the project is not going to be able to go forward.
And how much of this $600,000 grant have we spent already?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Jonathan?
I could defer to Ty and Bond. Do you have an estimate of what you've done so far for scope of work?
Tough to tell since the surveyor hasn't sent us the bill yet, but $50,000 of the 600 perhaps.
Okay, thank you.
One more.
Yep.
This 425 annual cost, that's coming from Sean Healy's report from April 22nd last year. Jeff Faulkner?
Mr. Chair, that is the number that Town LSP Sean Healy presented in April of 2024.
Minute marker 3725, that grant said that part of that cost was $100K for phase 2. Well, it didn't say $100K, but it said part of the cost was for phase 2. And an email from Sean Healy to John Ruda said that $100K was part of that cost as well. So does that mean it's only $325? And also, does that include landfill monitoring?
It doesn't include the landfill monitoring.
100% doesn't?
It's for the design phase for the water line, right?
Correct. No.
This was last year.
No, it was.
I mean, the poet. I'm sorry. Yeah, my problem.
It didn't include the landfill, though.
Also, a part of that slide, the next slide on that was the installation cost for those 25 would have been $130K cost for the town at a yearly cost of $110K. So I don't know where you're getting this $400,000 number from. It's going to be going on and on. Plus, those measurement or the testings are being less and less. It's not quarterly anymore. It's either semi-annually or annually.
I'm going to defer that number to Jeff Faulkner, his team, because they're the ones who provided it, through Sean Healy.
The 425 is a direct number provided on the slide in an April 22nd presentation by Sean Healy. It's a hypothetical. Those numbers will change over the next 75 years, but the escalation of that number, as was mentioned earlier, is incredible over 75 years versus the cost of a water main.
That's all I got.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yep, sir. Just come up, identify yourself and general address where you live in town.
Hi guys, Greg Chernacki, Eagle Drive, 39 Eagle Drive. Is this meeting recorded or not?
Yes, it is.
Because last time I tried to watch you and it was not recorded.
This is a selectmen's meeting, so we record all our meetings.
No, I listen. You're talking millions all over the time. I built that subdivision, if you guys don't know me. I know the new lawyer there I never met, Mr. Blair. We see each other, of course, pretty soon I know. I can promise you. I got a question to you. Did you find out what's the story with me? Because I own the road, right?
Well-
I own the rights to the road, and you cannot go there with my permission, right?
Sure. I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm asking you, and I asked you, or somebody, I don't think it was you, at the last meeting, I would like to see if you could provide me with the deed which you reserved the rights to that road, because our research is showing that you as the developer never reserved rights in the road.
No, it was recorded. It was few recorded. Every house was recorded.
Okay, well, if you can point me, you get your lawyer to point me to that document, because we've done a pretty extensive research at the Registry of Deeds, and we don't see where there was a reservation that you reserved the ownership of the road. But if you can show me that document, that would short circuit it, and it would be wonderful. And the question then is, rights in the road. Well, there's a couple of different ways that a town can get the rights in the road. They can do it by eminent domain, under Chapter 40, Section 39B, I believe it is, for water purposes, or you can negotiate with the owners of the road. So either way, we need to know who the owners of the road are. And our initial research shows that the deeds from you to the property owners did not reserve your rights in the road. So if you have a deed, or you have something that was recorded at the Registry of Deeds that reserved your right in that road, I would love to see it. And if you could provide that to me, that would be great. And then at that point, the town will make a determination as to how it wants to get any rights it needs in that road, either through gift, purchase, or eminent domain.
Because what I know, that road gonna be destroyed completely. It's boulders there, it's hard rock. You have to bring 6-7 feet diamond blade down there to cut it. I know that split, I did it. We did first section on Eagle Drive. We did Joseph Street. And then you smart guys shut me down, put moratorium to extension the water line. And God is punishing you now with those million and people in Dudley. What you did, shut down me completely, was free of charge for the town of Dudley, what you did. And you shut me down for 7 years with no reason.
I wasn't here.
Yeah, I know, but I explained to people, maybe somebody's watching me now. And I lost vision on eye 70%. You know why? Because you hire a building inspector. He pushed me from the stairs
All right, Mr.
to kill me.
Chianti,
No, this is...
Please, listen, this is what we talked about. We're not here to talk about...
This was history, what happened.
Excuse me. We're not here to talk about what may or may not happen with a previous building inspector that you're alleging assaulted you.
Yeah, but I cannot see straight you. That's what I explained to you.
I feel bad.
I have to put glasses,
But we're
maybe.
not here to discuss what may or may not happen, whatever's alleged. We're here to discuss the water line.
The water line, yes. Why are you using 17 millions? You got smart guys down there. I calculate that it's 20 hydrants for 2,500 is 50,000, right? And 7,000 feet of road. It's less than 1 million for all material on the road for that project. Why you come with 17 million?
I don't think anybody said 17 million, but I'm deferring.
Yeah, that's what you got.
I'm
17 or plus.
I'm trying to answer your question, sir. I'm deferring to the experts. Jeff Faulkner or one of his co-workers can discuss methodology if they would like, but you take the floor, Jeff, please.
Mr. Chair, regarding the cost, the $14.2 million is inclusive of engineering during construction phase. It's inclusive of police details during the construction phase. It's inclusive of contingency during the construction phase, and it's based off of a conceptual level project review about a year ago, based on the quantity of materials that may be needed on the conceptual level and our understanding of the market conditions of building such water lines. with some understanding of the site-specific information, such as significant rock removal.
Thank you.
But you're never gonna go to 17 millions. CAPS is not charging you a lot of money. Why you can't? No, this has nothing to do. 17 million is outrageous. It's outrageous.
Well, it's 14 million for starters.
Doesn't matter, you're gonna go up, I know for sure. You got electric wire there in the road. You have to, I don't know what you're gonna do. Then you go with that crazy machine, rack with diamond blades there. Then you're gonna have so many cuts. That road should be take out and put a new road on there, new asphalt. You cannot do anyway.
Oh, again,
It's impossible. You got berms, you got sidewalks. And what I know, 60% people say no to you guys. They don't need your water.
Well, again,
60%.
again, I'm going to defer to the experts, but as I believe it was Audrey's presentation, Jeff originally talked about stubs at the property line. I'll defer to you folks to continue. If I can't assume that Mr. Chinaki's number of 60% is correct. I don't know. I haven't spoken to anybody in that neighborhood, but we can discuss the long-term ramifications for not doing it. Again, we can show it again if you like.
I guess I'll just add that the quantities of excavation, including rock, were based on our understanding of the neighborhood, how much rock outcrops exist, and signs of rock removal in the past. That's all been included in the conceptual memo, which included, I believe, 40% contingency.
So there's a 40% contingency on the rock removal, as Mr. Faulkner just said, included in that 14 million.
Now I'm gonna find out how much that machine costs an hour. I'm gonna find out. I am on computer now. I'm learning so much. I am chasing you guys on computer. I got one question. Why you didn't put liner on dump site?
Why do what?
Liner is not there.
I don't understand.
Plastic liner. You cap the dump site, right?
Yeah,
But it's no liner there.
I don't know. I wasn't around when they capped the line.
You told me last time it's liner there.
I didn't say that.
I find out in computers, no line in Dudley. That's why it's leaking.
I don't know. I'm going to defer to council on that one because I wasn't there when they capped the
I
landfill.
got the paper. I can show you the paper. It's in Dudley, you got no liner. If you got liner, you put 4 feet deep, and then you go up and do this way. If you got no place to put it 4 feet deep, that's what they're going to sink under. And I went last Saturday down there. My lawyer told me to do it. I took a lot of pictures there. And that place, it looks like you put a lot of solar panels, that's scammers idea, and the panels going to poison that dump site again in a few years. I signed the contract. You're making $60,000 on that solar panels, right? With that company, $60,000. And they're going to destroy our land, everything. Those Chinese stuff is solar going to leak.
All right.
It's over 8 years now.
I'm not an expert on...
Replacement every solar panel is going to cost you $1,000.
I'm not an expert on solar
No,
panels.
I know a little bit. That's why I asked. I got a lot of questions. What else I got?
I'm just going to defer. I'm going to ask Jeff Faulkner and his team, and if you don't have the answer, do you have any indication or do you have any knowledge if there's a line on that landfill? Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Terry.
When was that?
I got the paper if you want it.
One sec, please.
To be honest, us as the water engineer have really no information on the landfill.
I just remember when I was like 4, it was there.
How many testing wells you got on this dump site?
I'm not sure about that, but
We're,
Testing was there.
they're the water line designers, and I'm town council. The person that you really want to talk to would have been the LSP, but the LSP is no longer retained by the town because the town failed to appropriate the monies for them. So there's a lot of questions out there that could have been answered tonight, but we no longer have that LSP because the town failed to give the appropriation for the continued remediation and monitoring of the whole project down there and the landfill.
Twice.
I find 3 testing wells there on top of the hill, probably like 80 feet from the dump site. Was clever do it, top of the hill. What you gonna test it? There's no dump site there. It's very strange. I worked down there for a good 1 hour, and this is like we have that layer cancer, and that cancer is spraying around the town all the time. It's no easy way to remove that dump site. It's polluting whole town. Our lake is polluted. All stream is going there. All wetland is polluted. It's gonna be cheaper to remove it. Dump site, clean that area forever.
I wasn't there, I wasn't around when they capped and closed the landfill. I don't know how many monitors are there.
I think I was in high school when they capped it.
So, and as the town council indicated, it'd be information we could have gotten from the LSP, but
But if people find out it's now a liner there, you got no chance in court because you're gonna lose cases.
I'm not a lawyer and I don't pretend to
Yeah.
play one, so.
Another problem with water. What's going on? The gallon of water gonna cost us $100 pretty soon if you're gonna add that everything. And why you put so much chlorine in water?
That's a question for the water commissioners, and I'm sure they're not ready to address anything tonight. And the superintendent, I mean, if they want to come up and give a brief answer to your question, that is not, we have a water department that handles the water. That'd be like,
But I got a question to you guys. You are the big bosses, and what happened to me, I went to my jacuzzi for half an hour, and I have to run for emergency room in hospital. I have all the rash over my body. And doctor told me, I got in writing, if that water go in your eyes or mouth, you could die.
again, I have no knowledge.
You must warn the people with children, don't take bath from that water
I
because
have no
chlorine
knowledge,
is there.
I have no knowledge of how they treat the water, what they treat the water. That's a question for the superintendent and or the commissioners.
I am testing town water now every few weeks in my house, and I got a very bad testing.
So
Very
you should
bad.
bring that concern to a water commissioner meeting, not here.
Yeah,
because-
but you are the bosses.
No, we're not, the water commission is an independently elected board that has employees that work for the water department. Yes, they're town employees, but any concern or questions about your water has to be addressed to them. And they're staffed in their office 5 days a week. They have emergency call numbers. They have their own meetings.
I got to look at the paperwork. What else I got to ask? I got so much headache with you guys, and I am so proud for God is punishing you guys for what you did to Eagle Drive
We were
and to
talking
me.
about the why.
We're talking about you know what? The good Lord has been very good to me, so I don't think I'm getting punished, but
Oh, don't tell me
we're,
that.
we're here to discuss the water line, not,
No, water line, what's the story? Toyota is gone. What I hear, Gent is going to go pretty soon. They got enough Dudley. Just been watch out. Webco probably gone away from Dudley too. How much taxes you got from Nicholas College, percentage?
you could ask the tax collector that one, but
Oh, he's boss there. How much you got from Nicholas College money?
so
Roughly.
I'm gonna let Rich,
this
Rich, you can
about
just
the
say
water
none.
line?
You can say none because it's just, we don't control what Nichols College pays in taxes. That's the state. But we're here about the water line. Any other questions off, not counting the water line, I'm gonna have to ask you to step back in case somebody else wants to speak.
Good luck, I don't know. That means you cannot, why you want that cement dot all 12, why you want to put concrete there? You scary, somebody gonna pump water?
I don't understand the question.
When people are gonna take town water, their well's gonna be cemented, right?
I'll defer to Audrey on that one because she addressed it in her presentation.
Oh, the abandonment of the wells, yeah, so when the property owners do connect, the wells will be abandoned, and that's something, per Mass DEP those wells are contaminated right now. And so abandonment of those wells is required.
I don't know, I built that project, looks like everything gonna be done, demolished, everything, every house. Because soon as lawsuits are gonna come, what town gonna do? Oh, I got one more question. Town lawyer should know. What percentage of bonds you already using? How much money you borrow already on bonds?
Borrowed any?
Bonds. Because I know,
They're working
because
under-
you borrow and borrow every year. I don't know how much. Are you broke already or not?
Well, we haven't borrowed any money for this project yet. As I'll defer to Jeff again. Town meeting did not appropriate the money that we had to put up that was gonna be reimbursed from the grant, so we had to wait until the grant was awarded. So we didn't borrow any money for their funds. What they're doing is not costing us anything. It was funded by a grant.
No, I got one more suggestion. Maybe you're gonna give me 15 million and I'm gonna do that road, that project.
Well,
I'm gonna save some money.
I appreciate your
Okay,
offer.
thanks a lot.
Thank you. Anybody else from the audience?
I'll ask a question.
Sir?
Hi, Bruce Langlis, 54 Eagle Drive. You said that the money, the 6.6, would have to be borrowed, it'd have to go to town meeting. If it's not approved, and I think what council just said is that it would end the project.
So I'm going to defer again to council because it's, well, I understand your question, but the mechanism to get to your answer, you can explain.
Sure, we would have to go to town meeting to
Yep.
get the authorization to borrow 14.2 million, of which there would be a share and a forgiveness. So you're right, 6.6 million. And you are correct, if the town does not appropriate and authorize, if town meeting does not appropriate and authorize the borrowing of the 14.2 million, then the project will not be able to go forward. What these folks are doing is done under a grant, a $600,000 grant. So they would continue their work and get it designed, pretty much shovel-ready, and then in the event that the town decides a little later on that it wanted to move forward, we would have that done. And that is a grant. That's money from the state.
So the 6.6, if voted on, would go to the tax base from the town to borrow?
It would come through tax, it would ultimately, when you pay the bond, it would be
Correct.
part of the budget, the debt.
So ultimately, if that fails, we still have to have clean water. The POET system stay in place, I'm assuming?
And the town continues to
And
pay.
the town continues to pay with Gentex. So 6 to 1, half dozen to the other. The town is still paying from the tax base to make this happen,
That is correct.
whether it be through water line or POET systems for unknown amount of people.
So,
Is that correct? It's a question, not a statement.
That's correct.
yes, that's accurate.
Okay.
So I'm sure my words are going to get parsed. So I'm going to speak in generalities. We had public hearings with DEP, Mary Jude, Pigsley. I don't want to denigrate her title. She's some kind of, not director.
She's the head of Clean Water.
She's the head of basically the Clean Water. She was here with Mark Baldy, who was one of her co-workers, subordinate. And again, I'm paraphrasing what was said that night. POET system mitigates the problem, water line solves it. And again, nobody wants to pay any more than they have to. The chart that Ty and Bond put up, I think, and I'll defer, it was pretty clear. Just assuming a 3% escalator.
No, I think that's important to the town is that one way or the other, we're going to pay. And it's going to be through acceptance or it's going to be through forced.
Correct, and again.
And so that may be a selling point for the town because I know we've already voted twice against the portion just for the
grant.
the design and the grant. And so to go up 6 times what we were already asking, I think we need more education for the town to be able to. It's a small group of people in our neighborhood. Nobody wants to spend taxes on 2% of the town, right? But it's one way or the other, we have to do it. So I just hope that we can get that across to folks regardless. So on to a different question, if that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine.
If you choose to sign up by the 30th, right? Your
25th, right, June 25th.
30th of June, I believe it was.
June 30th, 25, I'm sorry, yeah.
So if you choose not to sign up, and then the town does bring the line up to the edge of your home,
No, edge of the property, I believe.
That's what I mean, the hedge of the
Stub.
property.
It's like a stub.
Does the town then stop paying for the Poet systems if you don't want to sign up?
I'll defer to council.
I believe initially in our conversations with DEP, that once we put a water line in there and allow the residents, we'll hook you up, and if you decline, then yes, they would stop.
Okay.
So, you good for me? You got another question? Because I want to ask council a question.
I probably do, but if I have one, I'll come back up.
Okay, so.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask council, again, I know we're dealing in hypotheticals, but based on his experience, and even Ty and Bond could chime in, can you go into a scenario where it's defeated at town meeting, it gets to the point where the town is basically bankrupted because we can't afford what we're doing now? Can you explain, on your experience, what would, for example, Gentex be able to do, and what would the DEP be able to do to force compliance?
Sure, we were found a responsible party together with Gentex, and from what I understand, there's further investigation to try to find other responsible parties. But as it stands right now, we had an agreement with Gentex to do 50% of the remediation costs. The town did not, it failed to appropriate twice the monies for those remediation costs, so we haven't paid for any of it. Gentex is still required to pay. Ultimately, it could end up in a lawsuit by Gentex for costs incurred by them on our, for at least 50% of the costs. DEP has the ability, I know I've said this a bunch of times, I don't know if people believe it or not, but DEP has the ability to come in and fine you. And I believe the fine is up to $25,000 a day. They also have the ability to actually go in and do work. I don't think they would come in and do a water line, but they could come in and they could undertake the remediation. They could maintain the poets. They could put in and install new poets when additional contamination is found. And then they would come after us, and they can get up to 3 times their cost plus interest. So ultimately, if this thing plays out, the town will likely be in court from somebody or some entity, and then once there's a judgment, you don't have a choice. It has to be paid from any available funds in the treasury, and then it's put on the next year's recap sheet, and it's part of your taxes. So that's the worst case scenario. And, to be perfectly honest with you, you've asked me my personal experience. I've been doing this for about 22 years. I've never had a town I've never had it go that far. Usually, at some point, there's monies that are found, monies that are appropriated, and we're able to remedy the situation. But that's the worst case scenario.
So if I'm hearing you right, council, you're saying not only will DEP come in and do the work, they will determine cost and any damages that we have to pay above and beyond, and the state would mandate the added increase on the tax base.
It would become a judgment, and then we would have to pay it.
Right, we wouldn't, the state would come in and say, this is what it costs, this is how you're doing it, and
Yes.
23rd hour, we can't negotiate and say,
Yeah.
oh, we changed our mind.
Yeah.
Kerry?
As far as the Poet system maintenance, do we get any sort of a grant for that, or is that all on us?
I'll defer that to, I'm not sure if Jeff has the answer, or
I'm not familiar with you getting a
The
grant.
the maintenance is right now all on us.
all in the town.
Well, right now it's all on
Gentex.
It's
Gentex.
50-50.
Right, but right now it's Gentex one.
However, we're in a cost-sharing agreement with Gentex and not paying our share of the cost sharing
Yeah, so
because the
right-
money didn't get appropriated.
Right, it was 50-50, now it's 100% Gentex.
So basically, if we put the water line in, we fix our costs for a specific period in time. If we continue to maintain the Poet systems, we're at the mercy of whatever we're charged for them forever, with no grants, no help, no 0%, no nothing.
It either comes out of operational funds or we continually borrow for it year after year.
And after 13 years of paying for Poet maintenance, at 13 years, we would have had the water line paid for, done. I mean, I just see a clear
Is that accurate?
That's the way the numbers seem to look.
And that's, if I may,
Yep.
that's assuming that there's not a significant growth in the contamination to a bunch of other wells down there. I don't know the characteristics of PFAS. I don't know if it's one of those things that moves, at the speed of a snail and it would take decades to grow, or if it's relatively quick, but.
If it moves to another house or another neighborhood, and if the DEP determines we're on the hook, we're on the hook, whether it's Poet, Waterline, something. At least we can fix this piece.
So before I recognize someone for a second round of questions, does anybody else have a question or a concern?
I have one other question.
Well, but he had his hand up first. I'm going to let him come up. Oh. Yep, no, you come up. You haven't spoke yet. Thank you.
My name's Sean Horahan. I live at 56 Fairview Avenue. I want to thank the town for sharing what seems to me to be pretty straightforward numbers, information, science, legal counsel. I support having access to the main water supply. It's inconceivable to me that there's this much issue over, the solution here. But I understand there's going to be another vote. I just don't understand how we could vote against our own interest in that way. But either way, my home will have clean water. The cost could be astronomical. The cost could be fixed. My real estate equity, that's another concern I have if I go to sell my house. What conversations am I having with the buyer? So I just wanted to say thanks, and I would like that form.
Thank you. Mr. Durgan.
You keep saying that this is going to mitigate into other neighborhoods. The water line's right there at Paula Lane, Circle Drive. You have 8 more houses to test. That's it. There's no more water line within 500, within 1,000 feet. So I don't know why you guys are saying that it's going to mitigate to other places and how fast it goes or how slow it goes. It's not mitigating anywhere but Paula Lane and Circle Drive. And why aren't they on this part of this project?
I'll defer to Jeff Faulkner for that one.
So my understanding is when the grant was applied for, Circle Drive, Paula Lane, but we're not above the regulatory limit for drinking water, so the DEP did not allow them to be designed under the grant.
If I may as well.
Mr. Attorney Blake.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Also, I think maybe I wasn't clear, but not every house on Eagle Drive has a POET system in it.
Right.
My point being that in the future, that could go to every single house on Eagle Drive. If there's a water line down there, it doesn't matter. If there isn't, then there is a continuing, growing mitigation budget for there. That was my point, is I think I don't know how many POETs are down there. There might be 20 or something like that, probably even less than that, but there's 50 houses down there. It could, what I'm trying to say here is the numbers that Ty and Bond provided to you were an estimate. They didn't say every single house. It could be every single house.
All right, but it was mentioned it would travel to other neighborhoods. There's no more neighborhoods in the neighborhood that it's going in the
Well,
area.
when I was talking about the ones that are served by that water line. So that when we're sending out, giving you figures, they're probably conservative. It could be much bigger as far as a yearly annual cost for the POETs.
So we're going to have to come back here for another $2 million for Paula Lane? If it's determined that Paula Lane needs to be part of this project?
I don't think we deal in hypotheticals, because if DEP comes in and mandates, right, DEP would have come in and somehow mandate something over there. I'm not sure what it would cost.
Yeah, my understanding is the LSPs, not the town's LSP, the Gentex LSP is continuing to sample, and the results of those samples will dictate how much additional work may or may not be needed.
And another thing, you say the Shinakis don't own the road, so who does own the road?
So
I think you didn't say that.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer it. I didn't say that. What I said was that under the law, if the developer does not reserve ownership of the road, it defaults to what is called the derelict fee statute. And that means that every property owner owns on their side of the road to the center line of the road.
I don't.
Okay.
My deed specifically says that I only have access to travel across the road. And I'm sure there's plenty of other deeds that say the same thing on the road.
What I think there's a difference between the developer reserving the rights and saying that you have an easement over everybody else's portion. But as soon as, if you have the deed that shows the developer reserved the rights, look, I'd love to see it.
It's not my job. I'm a resident there. I live there. I'm the owner.
Well, it's not Jeff's job, Attorney Blake's job to provide it either. It's to look for it, and if it doesn't exist.
Yeah. If I can't find it, I can't find it.
Harry?
Oh, no, I'm.
Oh, I thought you had your
just-
hand up.
no,
Anybody else before I recognize the second speaker? Oh, he was waiting for us, so he can come up.
If I don't, oh, that's a good question. If I don't own the road, why you guys refuse to plow it for 30 years?
It's a private road.
No, you're talking private road now.
Yeah, it's a private road.
No, you told me it's not private.
No, it's still private.
It's still private, it's just that you're not the owner of it, it's still private.
Who knows? God owns the road.
I'm sorry,
God's on the road. I'm thirsty. I should drink some water.
well,
That's mean it's a very simple question. If I do, why you're not plowing? Then I refuse to for 3 years, and then you plow Pola Lane, no problem. You got another 50 road private road you're plowing. It's another lawsuit. Good luck. Have fun.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Langleis.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask if this presentation is available to the public? It's somewhat hard to read from back here. Can we get it?
Yeah,
They're gonna be posted on the town's website.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you.
And if somebody needs a hard copy, I suppose we could always mail them one or provide them one. You guys, you don't have a link right now, do you, that's up, that shows?
No, I think
All right.
We're creating a page dedicated to this.
All right, so Amanda Gage, who does a lot of recording and IT, said it will be up tomorrow as part of a presentation on the whole scope of the project.
Will there be notes from the first two meetings that some of us didn't get to attend? Will there be recaps of the first two meetings?
I was not here. Will there be a summary?
I'm happy. I wasn't going to provide a summary, but I can tell you from sitting through both of them, I think what you see, a lot of these slides have changed, have increased based on the questions and comments that we got. Specifically, most of it was about the cost of the poets versus the water line and that. But I'm not going to summarize any of my comments, although I think we've answered every question tonight that we answered at the last one. So,
Thank you.
So, my question, I guess, as we put this up, is it, I don't want to put you on the spot, if a resident has a technical question that we can't have the answer to, can they reach out to you folks through like a generic website, like a generic email on your site, or?
I think the preferred method is for the questions to come to the town to ask us, and
Okay.
then we'll go back to the town.
All right, because I don't want to speak something that's not true, and then have someone say, oh, you said. Anybody else with a question or a comment? Scott Sikowski, Water Commissioner. Water Sewer, sorry.
Yeah, Scott Skowski, Water Sewer Commissioner, 8 Catherine Street. I just wanted to address something that one of the previous speakers said, and that seems to be the prevailing angle of comment on social media, and that's that the Dudley water supply is polluted, or is dirty, or is not safe, or just before this meeting started, I signed a voucher for $16,000 for 1 month's worth of testing for our water. The water is tested monthly, bi-monthly. There's tests going on almost every week. of one sort or another for one organism or one chemical or another. It's ongoing. We spend thousands and thousands of dollars annually to ensure that our water is clean. DEP, there's a man named, his name's Bob Bostwick. He's recently retired, I believe. He's tough. He came down on us, and one of the comments he made during COVID when we were starting our foray with PFAS, he made a comment. The regulation is 20 parts per trillion. He says, we don't care what you do, but we will not allow water at a rate higher than 20 parts per trillion to go through your pipes. And I asked a couple of other questions, and he came back and he said the same thing. We will not allow water at a rate higher than 20 parts per trillion to go through your pipes. That's the way it is. Yes, there's chlorine. I get it. I don't like it. I fought it for years. It's a battle that I lost, that we lost. We fought against chlorinating our water for as long as we could.
Hello?
The chlorine serves a purpose. Yeah, we're constantly working to fine-tune the chlorination of the water. Have to understand that chlorine goes in on New Boston Road. That chlorine has got to reach all the way. The farthest out is the lower end of Mill Road and Railroad Ave. That chlorine's got to reach all the way out there. I spend $10 every 2 months to buy a pure filter, and I put my water through a pure filter. Gets rid of the chlorine. That's the only reason I need it. I use it for chlorine. It's there. It's a fact. It's in everybody's water. Public water supplies everywhere have chlorine in it. That's just the nature of the beast. But our water, Dudley's water, is clean. I bathe in it. I drink it. I cook with it. I would give it to my grandchildren if I would ever have any.
I do.
Yeah, I would. I have absolutely zero reservations about the town's water supply, and nobody else in town should either. And that's all I have to say. Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else with a comment or a question? Mike, I know we lost you for a minute. You want to come back with a question? Are you all set?
I have two.
Yep, good, Ron.
One for Scott. So you mentioned you're filtering chlorine out of your private or your public water in your home, right?
Yes.
But if the private pumps are removed, how do you filter that? Because right now I have a water system on my private well, but it's in my basement. But if that whole pump system was pulled out, and I'm not part of this Eagle Drive at all, but if it was removed, how would you ever filter?
There are whole home filters that you can put in. It goes in after the meter. You can put in a whole home filter, which would filter the chlorine out of the water all through your house. I just put it through a pure filter, a pitcher. I have a pitcher in my refrigerator that has tap water in it. It just filters through the charcoal filter. It's the same charcoal that's in the filter down on New Boston Road.
Okay, thank you.
It's just, they cost about $10 a filter, and the filter lasts anywhere from 2 to 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
For our use, and we're two people over 60, but
I hear you, Scott. I live off of New Boston Road. I drink tap water. I shower with it. I don't filter it. It's fine.
It's two questions, Robin?
Yeah, my other question, so one of these people mentioned that the trench in the road is 7 feet deep.
Yeah, 6,
6
about
or 7
6,
feet.
7, yeah.
Is that the depth that you would be digging into each private lot as well? So that, if they have other things higher in the ground, you could dig underneath theoretically to put your pipe in?
Yeah, we have to put the service at a 5-foot depth to support the frost line. So that's to prevent the pipe from freezing.
Okay.
So we would have to go under, if we can't go under something, then we would have to like insulate the pipe and
Okay.
maybe come up to 4 feet depth.
Joey, what's the, is that accurate? The depth for a feed is about 5 feet, 4 feet?
Starts at 4.5 and goes out to 5. All depends. You got some play there.
Right. Because, as he said, because of the frost. Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the crowd? Any board members left for questions? Oh, Mr. Durgan.
Now that Greg Shinaki does not own the road, what is the policy of getting our road plowed by the town?
I don't
Like
think-
Paula Lane does?
I don't want to speak for council, so I'll let him answer it. And we didn't say.
I didn't say that he didn't own the road. What I said was, if he has, our initial research, because he asked, is that I don't see a reservation. We're not done. We may find the deed that I'm looking for, and he would own it. With respect to the plowing of a private road, that's a policy for the town to make, I believe.
We have a policy.
All right, then that'll be.
That's why I'm questioning, how would I go about getting that policy enacted for Eagle Drive?
Yeah, I'd have to look at it.
I know
I
for
don't know
Paula
if-
Lane, they used to come before the board every year. Mr. Solomon, you probably remember, you were there. Carrie, you probably remember when Paula Lane used to come here. It was the lady from Nichols, athletic director. She lives up there.
Yes, but we're here to discuss if you want to get on the agenda in the future to discuss,
Yeah, that's what I'm asking you. What would be the policy
I
for
would say
that?
contact the office and get on the agenda and,
Contact Jonathan?
well, contact the town administrator selectman's office.
I have.
As you know, as being a planning board member and an assessor, how do I get on your agenda? I contact your office and I get on the agenda.
Right.
You want to get on our agenda, you contact our office.
So that's it, just
Very
getting
simple. You're
on the
two
agenda?
boards.
That's it?
You're on two boards.
I understand I'm on two boards, it doesn't matter. That's the policy then, to get
Yeah.
on the agenda?
Yeah, we don't just have walk-in service. You can't just walk in and sign an agenda.
Right, well, when I email Mr. Ruda and ask him how to get on the agenda and he doesn't respond to me, then what? Because this has already happened, I've already asked this question.
About being on an agenda?
Yes, about this exact policy.
Well, you can CC me on your emails and I'll ensure that we
That
get an
works
answer.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any further comments from Ty and Bond or Attorney Blake? Excellent. We're going to move on to our next agenda item. I think you folks can wrap it up. Thank you for coming in tonight with the information, as usual, thorough.
I'm gonna leave these there, the sign-in, or the write-up.
Okay.
Entry forms.
Yep.
For the property owners.
Yep, just, you can leave them on the side, we'll grab them.
Okay,
Olivia,
I'll leave them right here.
we'll grab them after.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Blake. Thank you,
Counselor.
Thank you, Jeff.
Jeff and your team. Thank you very much.
Olivia, do
Thank you.
you need this?
Next on the agenda, FY '26 budget, FAA and/or Board of Selectmen votes to take any additional or required action on the FY '26 budget if required. Mr. Ruda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We did have a chance to discuss some things with the finance team. Sarah was able to make some adjustments, and maybe she can go over that. We didn't get to the $232,000 that Mr. Mayotte suggested, but we did restore some additional money to stabilization, so I think we have a sheet. Didn't you prepare a sheet that shows what adjustments we made?
Package that it looks very similar to the last package. I reprinted them because we have some new numbers, but on the first page, you'll see some notes over to the right. So I'll kind of walk you through. When we left on the 14th, we were charged with finding, I believe it was $230-something thousand. For Mike Mayotte made that request. So the following day, I went back and I did some analytics on the revenue stream. And I was able to roll out 2 items that increased, and they were the ambulance receipts. As Dean has mentioned several times in the past, they're doing very well this year with the ambulance receipt collections. So I took the year-to-date through actually March, because I did have that number. It isn't posted yet, but Rich was able to provide that to me, and annualized the figure. And it looks like we have an additional sum of $190,000 that we were able to add to the projected local receipts. I also did some analytics with the cannabis excise tax coming in, and it was slightly higher than anticipated. We receive quarterly checks, and they're averaging around $45,000 a quarter. So with that number, I was able to increase another $18,000. And then the tax title, we had discussed that last time. There was $80,000 on the revenue sheet. I had to drop that down because I spoke to my representative at the Department of Local Services, and she said you can take the interest on the tax title redemptions, but you can't include the principal. So that number came down a little bit. But the net increase in local receipts was about $160,000. Unfortunately, right after we met, we received news from the House that the state budget decreased local receipts. So the $48,000 was a decrease. So local, not
Local aid, yeah.
Local aid, not local receipts. So a decrease in 48.5, an increase of revenues of $160,000. So a net of about 113 for the revenues. That's an increase in revenues. Also, the sewer department decided to change some of their initial budgeted numbers, and they have a savings of $119,000. They proposed articles that would be capital. So that increased that. And then this morning I received news from Rich that the Dudley Charlton Regional School had overstated their charge to us by about $11,500. So when you add everything up, we were able to restore, I think it was $243,000, and I think Mike was looking for $242,000.
32.
237.
Oh, okay, so hopefully those changes satisfy what you were looking for. Nothing else changed, except we were able to restore the capital stabilization fund, an additional, I believe we had, the original number was $269,000 that was left in capital stabilization, and well, that was the total in stabilization, and we're up to the 382 that's on this first sheet here. So the summary runs along the right side. Did you guys get?
Sorry.
Did you get this? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So my only question or concern, and I get it, we're about, what, 75% through the fiscal year?
Probably
More.
A little more?
Yeah.
Because it goes to June.
We're 10, 12.
I know we're
5,
trending,
6.
up in the ambulance and cannabis. If for some reason there was like a little bit of a dip, that would, can't be a huge skewer now because we're already so far into the fiscal year. That would be my only concern. But excellent work, you and the financial team, treasurer collector, yourself, I'm sure the town administrator's office, everybody that participated, including fire and EMS, who's, I believe, traveling at this time. Mike, did you hear that numbers?
Yes, with a smile. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Any questions from the FAA? Anybody from that board?
Robin, were all of your questions, we received an email
Yeah, I
from you.
had an email. I spoke to Rich before the meeting, so he
Okay.
answered quite a few of my questions. I did have a couple more.
I have answered them, so.
Recently, the Board of Health was requesting to hire one nurse, and I'm just curious if that salary and benefits is included in their budget at all?
No, no.
Okay.
It's same with the library.
Okay.
And then,
The other
okay,
position-
most of your questions had to do, I think, you know, you tie out the number, but it changed, so.
The other positions,
The highway requested two, the salary and benefits are included for one.
Yeah, I saw something for them. It
And
was
one
just
for-
the library and the Board of Health. I didn't
And one patrolman.
included it.
there's one patrolman also.
Mhm.
Okay, that's included.
Yeah, but I think it's in there.
And the library was, I don't want to
Not
speak,
included.
not as a full-time, but did they get authorization for a part-time or not even that?
I think they're gonna increase hours on a part-time
Okay.
position.
I did speak to the librarian the other day.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, no, I'm good.
Well, we don't have a quorum at this time, so we can just kind of, anybody got any questions in the crowd, which drastically thinned out in the last 5 minutes. So we're just going to wait a minute. I just want to, again, reiterate, thank the budget team, thank the finance team. I'm sure I'm going to leave somebody out. I just mentioned the treasurer collector.
We could go, switch right on to the draft warrant if you'd like, Mr. Chairman.
I prefer. Everybody here to hear it.
Okay.
Unless you want to do the non-confrontational ones first, except all
I
the
don't think
reports.
anything's gonna be confrontational.
No, but controversial, whatever. Nice, wrong word, not confrontational. You can start the warrant presentation if you like. Which I can't find. So that's in the OneDrive? Or in the packet?
Yes.
Scroll, please.
I would say between the changes that you mentioned, superintendent of schools just made and the ones that you made, just to confirm before this warrant is published that the numbers agree with the latest that you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
I actually
They do or they don't.
have your responses.
It's gonna start,
If you look,
warrant presentation.
I had tied it out.
Oh, okay.
All right, so you can keep this.
No, I don't need it.
Oh, okay.
Thank
All
you.
right.
I just want to make sure whatever we vote on at the town is the latest numbers, so we don't have to sit there and modify this, that, and the other thing.
So if we go to Article 3,
1 second, it's just opening up.
that's the bottom line based on the line item budgets that you have in front of you, but for Article 3, it's the bottom line by department, which is what we vote on in the warrant.
That's starting under the head of general fund.
Is this the same as what we're looking at?
I don't, well, you know what, I don't think, you didn't put in the
We
information
didn't
from
change it, no.
today?
So we'd be looking at this sheet,
Yeah,
second
this
sheet,
one,
right?
yeah.
With a total of $29,788,575?
Yep.
Okay, so when we take the vote, I'm glad I brought that up. So when the FAA votes its recommendation on Article 3, please refer to this sheet, which is part of this packet.
The
And we'll
second
update the
sheet.
warrant before we
Okay.
publish it.
still referring to,
We're referring to, so what we'll do is after the FAA votes their recommendation tonight, the selectmen tomorrow, Sarah and Olivia will go in and update Article 3 with the latest numbers, which you can find in your packet.
so can we do a contingency vote on accepting the warrant pending changes, or do we have to come back and vote again?
No, you can vote Article 3, referring to this,
Or the handout as opposed to?
the handout, because it's
Okay.
going to be the exact same thing.
Okay.
It just needs to be replaced in the budget, in the warrant.
Mike, I know you don't have, do you have the documents in front of you?
I have some.
Okay. You guys haven't, FAA usually have any questions on the $29 million round figure?
Are we looking for another FAA recommendation?
I'm going to defer
Mr.
to...
Chairman, I was going to ask if we could, you could vote your recommendations tonight on the warrant, item by item.
So is your new budget 29,788,575, is it 76 rather?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And John, could you just briefly go over a couple of things that you made changes on the budget?
Okay, so what we did was we backed out of, when we returned money to stable, we backed out of some of the line items that we had originally funded from stabilization,
Right,
and that was mostly in highway and fire, I believe.
yeah. Actually, I have.
So what are we looking
All
at
right,
first,
so
highway?
we took out $1,600. We still fund it. We just moved the funding source because we found the revenue. So $1,600 came out of VPN licenses in the IT. Preventative maintenance, $20,000 for the fire department. That's no longer funded by capital stabilization. As is the highway machine maintenance of $45,000 and highway general expenditures of $46,000.
So did you get, through the chair, did you get that, Mike? What we've done is,
Yeah.
all right. What we've done is we, instead of using stabilization as we did from the last meeting, we've backed that, we're using general fund money, and we've restored that money from the last meeting back into the stabilization accounts.
So what would be our running balance in stable?
Is this overview?
382.
Changes.
382. There's 32 in general stabilization, 32, 550. And in capital stabilization, there'll be 349, 691 left. Okay, and we pull about $300,000 from each stabilization and capital stabilization to fund the budget.
Okay.
All right.
Any other questions for the accountant or the administrator? So you want to go item by item? You want to do the budget first and go through the warrant items?
I think we could probably take a vote, at least on Article 3, seeing we have it in front of us now.
So let the FAA go first. Mike, you guys want to entertain a motion?
Yeah.
On Article 3?
I'll entertain a motion from anybody on the FAA on the new budget amount.
And so the new budget amount would be $29,788,576.
So someone has to make that motion on the FAA.
And you'd be looking to the FAA recommendation, which would be recommend approval of Article 3.
I don't think we have the latest number right in front of us.
Anybody on the FAA want to make that motion?
It's on the top, it's on the top sheet. I mean, the second sheet at the bottom.
Second sheet's 29,788,576.
Yes. We need that as a motion in a second.
Okay. I make a motion, we accept Article 3 as written with a budget of $29,788.
No, 29 million.
Huh? $29,788,576.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second.
All right, is there any discussion on the budget number?
Mr. Chairman, can I ask that the motion include the insertion of the new and adjusted bottom line budget fiscal year 2025 as it appears in the packets, which means that I will replace what's currently in there with the new numbers right directly onto the warrant?
But the bottom line won't
With a
change.
bottom line of $29,788,576.
Somebody want to move that?
Well, you would just make an amendment motion. Yeah, amend
Okay,
your-
I'll reword it. I move we accept Article 3 as written with a bottom line of $29,788,576 with the inclusion of the latest itemized numbers provided tonight.
Okay.
All right. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor, and actually, I'm gonna actually call for a roll call since I don't.
Yeah, you have to roll call when you call in, Mike.
Excuse me?
You have to roll call when you call in.
Yeah, everybody does.
Your board.
All right, well, I'm gonna call for a vote then.
Roll call.
Joan Gadecki, aye.
Dan Gudrow, aye.
Robin Watson, aye.
Joshua Bussier, aye.
All right, Michael Mann, aye.
Let the record reflect the unanimous 5-0 vote for the FAA. Board of Selectmen need a similar motion in the amount of $29,788,576 with the inserted changes to be made for town meeting.
From the packet, so
Correct.
moved.
Moved by Mr. Landry.
Second.
Second by Mr. Sigenovich. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, all in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Let the record reflect 3-0.
Mr. Chairman, Article 4 is to authorize revolving funds with the annual spending limits assigned next to them, and I believe that Sarah has gone over these revolving funds in her office and brought them up to date. So we'd want a recommendation again from the FAA, voted recommendation, and from the Board of Selectmen.
Did you hear that, Mike?
What article are we on?
On Article 4 for the revolving fund with the spending limits?
Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion on this?
Go ahead. I make a motion to accept Article 4 as written, which is to authorize.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion on Article 4? All right, seeing none, we'll take a vote. Roll call vote.
Dan Gudrow, aye.
Joan Gadecki, aye. Robin Watson, aye.
Joshua
Anybody
Bussier,
else
aye.
there?
Yep.
Oops, sorry.
Let the record reflect, Mike, you too?
I vote aye.
Let the record reflect a 5-0 vote by the FAA. Board of Selectmen, need a motion for the same?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mr. Landry, second by Mr. Sigenovich. Any questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, all in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous, 3-0, let the record. Mr. Root, if you want, you can,
Mr. Chairman, Article 5 is authorization to borrow for the public safety vehicles. That was the 5-year plan for 6 vehicles, including the one fire chief vehicle and 5 police cruisers. 2 in the first year, and then 1 police cruiser every year thereafter until you hit 5 years, or 6 vehicles. That was heard by the Capital Improvement Committee, recommended to the Board of Selectmen. Board of Selectmen accepted the updated capital improvement plan. So now we need a recommendation from FAA, yea or nay, to borrow, authorize to borrow for public safety vehicles, Article 5.
I make a motion to accept Article 5, authorization to borrow public safety vehicles as written.
All right, we do have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Is there any discussion on this? All right, seeing none. Roll call vote.
Dan Gudrow, aye.
Joan Gadecki, aye. Robin Watson, aye.
Joshua Bussier, aye.
All right. Michael Mayer, aye.
Let the record reflect a 5-0 vote by the FAA. Board of Selectmen, need a similar motion to,
So moved.
moved by Mr. Landry,
Second.
second by Mrs. Sigenovich. Any further questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, all state aye.
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 Unanimous, let the record reflect 3-0.
Does that, Mr. Chairman, does anyone object if we just hold on Article 6 till the end? Because I think we can do the other ones a little bit more quickly. That's a new article that we hadn't previously discussed.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, Mr. Mayor? We'll go to-
Yeah, no problem.
Article 7 is the authorization to borrow for Eagle Drive remediation. This is to pay what, do we have the document we can put up on the screen now? So we've adjusted what we currently owe Gentex, what we've projected till the end of calendar year '25 for the costs for the Poet systems on Eagle Drive and so forth. And, all right, so here's the spreadsheet that shows beginning on November 18th, that was after the October special town meeting, failed to pass the vote to borrow to continue with the Eagle Drive Poet systems. We have a total unpaid Weston and Sampson tab of $42,972. The next one shows the testing and maintenance and project service for Safewell. That's an unpaid bill of $31,688 for a total of $74,660.21 that we currently owe Weston and Sampson and Safewell. And as we spoke about earlier tonight, Gentex has been covering 100% of those costs, but we still owe those bills. Woodard and Curran is a bill that was pending for our portion that we owe to Gentex. It was an adjustment. We have that 50-50 cost sharing agreement. We owe them $3,256.47. That's an adjusted bill that remains unpaid. And then we have projected Gentex cost of $88,912.83, and there's an email that backs that up. It says privilege there because it's got some legal discussion back and forth, but that's the actual adjusted amount that Gentex provided to us, projecting their cost until the end of calendar year '25 as to what we would owe. I'm sorry, fiscal year '25 as to what we would owe them. So the grand total unpaid projected owed is $166,829. We then have a Safewell estimated July 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025 cost. Safewell is the ongoing maintenance and change out of the Poet systems. That's $93,455. And then the LSP, which is Weston and Sampson Sean Healy, estimated from July 1st, 2025 cost through December 31st, 2025 would be $89,000. So the adjusted total for May 19th, we'd be asking to borrow $349,284.51 under Article 7. That's to pay for what we currently owe and to get us through the end of this calendar year.
Fiscal,
No, calendar.
oh, that one's
calendar
calendar,
year.
okay.
That would bring us to December 31st with the thinking that we'd have a better handle of numbers to look at in October,
Yep.
instead of projecting through the next 6 months after the first of the year.
Any questions from the FAA? Mike, you good? Josh, you good?
Yeah, I'm good. This is just to pay the old bills and keep just going through the end of the year. This has nothing to do with the landfill, right? We're budgeting for that?
That's next.
But yeah, the landfill is included in the budget, in the line item budget.
Yeah, okay. No other questions.
Board members? My board, our board, I mean, sorry. So we need a motion on the amount from the FAA.
I make a motion to approve Article 7, authorization to borrow $349,284.51 for Eagle Drive remediation.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Yep, you got a second, Mike.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, it was, and second.
Okay. Is there any discussion on Article 7? All right, hearing none, I'm going to call for a roll call vote.
Ann Gardner, aye.
Joan Gadecki, aye.
Robin Watson, aye.
Joshua Bussier, aye.
And Mike Mayotte, aye.
Let the record reflect 5-0. Same motion, Board of Selectmen.
So moved.
Moved by Mr.
Second.
Landry, second Mr. Sigenovich. Any questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, all in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, let the record reflect 3-0.
Just real quickly, Mr. Chairman, if it's okay if we go back to the line item budgets. The top is the revenue, and then the second page of the line item budget, under municipal expenses. If you go down to line item 001-156-5430-0000, just so everybody sees it, capital landfill compliance testing is included in the budget that you just voted on Article 3, the $97,780. I just wanted to specifically call that out because I know that'll probably be brought up, but it's been budgeted.
Thank you. Want to go right to Article 8, Mr. Administrator?
Article 8 is pretty straightforward. It's what we had the discussion with Ty and Bond and Jeff Blake about, $14,200,000 to pay costs for the construction phase of Eagle Drive neighborhood. And that's, again, to borrow through the SRF, authorization to borrow from the SRF fund, the entire amount of $14,200,000, as are previously discussed.
Mr. Chairman? Mike?
Does anybody want to make a motion on this article?
I'll make a motion to accept Article 8, authorization to borrow Eagle Drive Neighborhood Water Main Extension construction for $14.2 million as written.
Is there a second on this?
Second.
All right, is there any discussion on this? All right, all in favor? Roll call.
Ann Gardner, aye.
Joan Gadecki, aye.
Robin Watson, aye.
Joshua Bussier, aye.
Mike Mayotte, aye.
Board of Selectmen?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Sigenovich,
Second.
second by Mr. Landry. Any further comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, let the record reflect 5-0 FAA, 3-0 Board of Selectmen.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, the next article, Article 9, I believe that Sarah touched upon some transfers. The 9, 10, and 11 are some transfers by the Water Sewer Commissioners seeking approval to transfer $100,000 in Article 9 from sewer retained earnings for design and bidding services for the Potash Brook Interceptor.
Do you want to do the next three as a lump? Because we're going to probably make a motion to defer, right?
Oh, shot.
Or motion to approve the article but defer it to the water sewer?
Well, I think that the FAA can recommend approval. Or,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Hey, Mike, Article 9?
Are you doing them all together or one at a time?
So say you want to do 9, 10, and 11 together? or-
Well, FAA is not listed.
I don't remember I don't have a lot of information on these, so I'll put it up to anybody that wants to make a motion on these.
You want to hear some, Mr. Chairman, do you want to have George or one of the commissioners that are here tonight come up and speak to these three articles?
Yeah, just give it a little brief. If somebody can.
I don't have the exact numbers in front of me because I wasn't prepared for this, but it was, those are for transferring money out of retained earnings to pay for engineering services for various sewers for the French River project. I can barely see that. Article 9 is for
Potash Brook
the
Intercept.
Potash Brook, yeah, that's ongoing. 10 is 150 sewer retained earnings. Yes, something happened a year ago where money was voted and it was transferred into a line item. Something got messed up in the way it was transferred, and we're just covering that cost. And then 11 is 170,000 sewer retained earnings. It doesn't say specifically, and I'm sorry, I've been up since 3 o'clock this morning. My mind is toast. But that's what those are all for. But it's I'm sorry, I can't speak to them, to what they are for specifically. Okay, here.
Mr. Chairman, we're just voting to put these on.
You're just putting them on the warrant.
We're not passing.
We'll
judgment on
have
it.
specific information.
Well, we do need to vote a specific recommendation from the FAA, so.
Well, could they do that tonight? Oh, we need the handout. They can't do it the night before, the meeting before, right?
Can they have no opinion?
Sure.
Not telling anyone what to do, just trying to offer.
Well, FAA is not listed here like we were on the other articles, so I would say I make a motion to defer Articles 9, 10, and 11 to the Board of Selectmen for a decision.
Which means it will refer to the commissioners,
Yeah.
Or to the Water
the water
Commission.
sewer commissioners, yeah.
Hey, you could skip out the middleman.
Do we have a motion to defer?
Yes,
To who?
water sewer.
For water and sewer?
Yes.
On all three articles?
Yes, you guys can,
Right,
I'm sorry.
is there a second?
I'll second.
So Mike,
Okay.
in your discussion phase,
Any discussion on these?
yeah, you guys can still, as a board, if you choose, the night, you meet before the meeting like we do, you, as a board, you can recommend
Yeah.
yes, but defer to the commissioners, or no and defer, or just straight out deferral.
Hey.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can always change our recommendation.
Right.
Did they vote?
But at this time, I have a motion to defer
Yep.
to them to make the motion. So,
Hang
so
on,
is there any,
Mike, water sewer, Scott Zukowski.
We just reconnoitered over here, and The 170 is true up with Webster for the Webster sewer contract.
Yes,
And then
11.
the other two are both for I&I.
All right. Infiltrating.
Inflow and infiltration.
Yeah.
That's non-sewer water getting into the sewer system.
That's ongoing too.
That'll be going for a while.
Do you hear that, Mike? Article 11 is a true up to Webster, and the other two are the ongoing issues they've been addressing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Motion and a second.
Yep. You're
If,
good?
if Scott's still there, I don't know if he has, where does this leave water and sewer retained earnings?
Sewer is at about 300,000, I believe, and water is at 1.2. I believe it's somewhere in that, those, the numbers are somewhere in those ranges.
Yep, George confirmed it as a approximate range, Mike.
Okay. Is there any more discussion on these articles to the firm? Seeing, hearing none, I will call for roll call vote.
Joan Gardecki, aye.
Jane Gudger, aye.
Robin Watson, aye.
Joshua Bussier, aye.
All right, Mike Mayor, aye.
Let the record reflect 5-0 for the FAA. Board of Selectmen, same motion.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Landry, second by Mr. Sigenovich. Any further comments, questions, concerns? Hearing none, all in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, 3-0 for the record. Article 12.
Mr. Chairman, for Article 12 and Article 13, these come up annually, well, every 5 years or annually, depending on what cycle we're in. My recommendation is going to be to pass over Articles 12 and 13 until October, so that we'll be able to pay for these two articles with free cash as a source of funding.
The assessors know this.
The assessors are aware of it. We've spoken in the finance team, we've spoken to Lisa. And for Articles 12 and 13, they're fine with passing these over until October, with the understanding that we'll bring them back up in October. The first one is for $15,000. And usually in October, the source of funding would be free cash for that, to fund the cost of the recert of real estate and personal property values for FY '28. And we do this on a year-over-year basis so that there's sufficient funding. By the time we get to '28, we do that every 5 years, so that's why every year we vote $15,000. And it's set aside and it's used in '28 when the big bill comes in to go ahead and recert the real estate and personal property values. And then Article 13 is to fund cyclical inspections. And they've indicated that $21,000 in October will work to go ahead and get that work done. That's the inspections of all properties in town that have not been inspected in the past 10 years for FY '26 as required by the Commonwealth's Department of Revenue.
Chair will entertain a motion based on the town administrator's recommendation to pass over to the October town meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sigenovich, second, Mr. Landry. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none, all in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Do we want an FAA vote on that?
FAA, sorry about that if I jumped you. You folks want to act on the motion to pass over, just let it go.
Close my page. I make a motion to pass over Articles 12 and 13 until October.
All right, is there a second?
I second.
All right. John, these are,
You cut out, I couldn't hear you, Mr. Chairman.
these were in your budget, right? These are two of the things that you pulled out of the budget?
We pulled them out for July because they're really not needed until October anyway.
Right, okay. All right, is there any discussion on these? All right, hearing none, I'll call a roll call vote.
Dan Gardner, aye.
Joan Gardecki, aye.
Robin Watson, aye.
Joshua Bussier, aye.
Mike Mayotte, aye.
Let the record reflect 5-0 and 3-0 from the Board of Selectmen. Motion to accept the warrant.
Well,
We gotta go back.
we've got to go back to
Go back to
Article
five.
6.
Yep, 6.
And the police chief has been patiently waiting to speak to that on behalf of his co-chief. I don't know if the FAA wants to take action on Article 6 or not, but
Chief Collins.
So right now, the lieutenant's position,
I gotta take a look at it again.
All right. I'm going to have Marek just start his presentation, Mike, as you're reading along.
just real quick, the lieutenant position is a fairly new position that we introduced a couple years ago back to the police department. Right now, I believe it falls under non-union town hall employee. If we decide to pass this bylaw, that employee now becomes a contractual person, and it's easier to budget the budget for that position when it comes to raises or trying to figure out where the wages fall and any other compensation or benefits. So it just makes it a lot easier for myself and I believe the fire department with his deputy chief to make it easier to budget for the following year.
So I'm going to ask the town administrator just briefly, currently we have, I don't want to speak the wrong term, what's the document we currently have signed by?
so this came about when we had some retirements in higher positions. Most area towns have already accepted and amended their bylaws to allow for these contracts, which is required. So this is a standard practice in most towns around us, where you give a deputy fire chief, a police lieutenant, an employment agreement contract, a highway superintendent, for example, as opposed to treating him as an employee at will, which is appropriate for a department head or someone at that senior level. So when we brought this to Mark Terry, he suggested that in order to make this more binding for everyone's benefit, including the town, we need to amend and change the bylaws to allow for these contracts. Otherwise, they could be challenged. So right now we have letters of employment where we kind of spell out things that.
People that don't know, Mark Terry is the town's labor attorney, has been for about 20 years.
Correct. So my recommendation would be, based on his recommendation, to seek to make these changes and give both the employee and the town the proper protection when entering into these senior level agreements.
Like, any questions with you and your board?
I don't have any questions.
Anybody on the board? So,
So
Mike.
I do have a
Okay.
question. So now some of these people are non-union, right? They're at-will employees, just like in the private sector. They can leave, they can be fired because they don't like what they wore one day or, for any reason at all. Under a contract, how does that protect the town? I get how it protects the employee. How does it protect the town?
Because right now, letters of employment can be challenged. The letters that they receive when they take the position can be challenged. For example, there's no requirement in the Mass General Law for you to have to change your bylaws to hire a TA and offer an employment agreement, or a town accountant, or a police chief or a fire chief, and then you enter into agreement which begins and ends with certain understanding from both parties.
If I can add to that too, if we have a contract, you also do require things in the contract, especially in the police perspective, post that they're certified through post. That could be challenged the way we have it right now, but we want to spell out basically the way my contract is. If I'm not qualified, then that person will not be able to work for us. But there's certain qualifications that we would have to uphold to that person to hold. And if we don't have that spelled out, like Mr. Ruda said, there could be some challenges down the road. So at least from the police perspective, there is a lot of requirements that we need to spell that out in the contract.
For example, our town accountant holds a CPA, which requires renewal and recertification. A police lieutenant may be required to requalify on the handgun, all that sort of thing, which is deputy fire chief, the same thing, keep his paramedic up to date. All those things are very separate and specialized and technical and beyond what you would see in an employee handbook.
Okay.
So it just lays out the expectations on both sides.
Anybody else with questions?
Yes. Does that section 74-5C, do we have something there now, or is this a new section?
74-C.
Yeah, this section. Do we have something now that says something different than this?
No, we have nothing. We have personal policies and procedures for that section, but it doesn't define any of this. It doesn't say anything about.
So you're just adding the subsection?
Correct. The standard also, if you get to the point where you're going to dismiss somebody, the standard in almost all employment agreements includes anybody can be terminated any time for cause, which is basically the standard that would be for that level, no matter whether there was an employment agreement in place or not.
Is this in reference to just the police and fire department, or is this in reference to just general employment underneath the town and the?
It's department head, non-union, sworn police officers, assistant and deputies. So the rank and file would have their union protection still.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct. It would apply only to department heads, non-union sworn police officers, and assistant/deputy fire chiefs, which
Right.
is standard practice throughout other cities and towns.
Okay, thank you.
Good?
Yeah.
Still Andrew?
Yes, sir.
Mike, you good?
I'm good.
Do we need them to make a recommendation vote?
Are you looking for a recommendation from FAA on this?
I know, I'm just asking Mr. Root if we want one.
You could argue it's a contract, right? We're asking permission to enter into contracts with employees, so.
It's up to your
An
board.
FAA recommendation
Probably carry some weight.
would carry some weight.
It's up to your board, Mike. If you want to call for a vote, we'd be appreciated.
I can call for a vote. Does anybody want to make a motion on this?
I make a motion to accept Article 6, employment contracts for non-union department heads, as written.
Somebody want to second that?
I second.
Okay. Any more discussion? All right, seeing none, roll call vote.
Andrew, do I?
Joan Gadecki, aye.
Robin Watson, aye.
Joshua Bussier, aye.
And Michael Mayotta.
Let the record reflect 5-0-3-0. We didn't vote on that one yet, did we?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
That's what I meant. Mr.
Second.
Lanning. Motion made second. Any further discussion, comments, concerns? Hearing none, all in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
And then we just have to go back and get Article 1 and 2. I don't think we voted on those two yet.
Those are the housekeeping articles.
Those are the housekeeping articles.
Hear that, Mike? We're going back to 1 and 2. The housekeeping.
Okay.
First one is to vote to receive reports of the town officers and all committees, which is the FAA making recommendation, the Board of Selectmen, or any deferrals to like Water Sewer Commissioner and so forth, voting to allow that discussion to happen at town meeting, or take any other action relative thereto.
Mike?
Do we normally vote on these two? FAA?
I think you usually get up and you say, "We so move,"
Yeah.
and then we do.
Okay. All right, well, I can call a motion. Anybody want to make a motion on articles, what is it, 1 and 2?
Yeah, let's do them both together.
I make a motion to accept Articles 1 and 2 as written.
Okay. Any second on that?
I second.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a roll call vote.
Jane Bradshaw, aye.
Joan Gadecki, aye.
Robin Watson, aye.
Joshua Bussier, aye.
All right, Michael Mayotte, aye.
Board of Selectmen,
So voted.
Second.
moved by Mr. Landry, seconded by Mr. Sigenovich. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Hearing none, all in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, let the record reflect 5030. Approve, now you want to vote to approve the warrant as presented tonight, or we're going to save that till the night right before?
No, let's vote to, the Board of Selectmen vote to approve.
Oh, so we can sign and
Post the
post.
warrant.
Yeah. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the warrant as presented tonight, so it can be signed and posted.
So moved.
By Mr. Sigenovich.
Second.
By Mr. Landry. Any questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, state aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Chair will entertain a motion to, well, FAA, you done with business? Mike, you want to adjourn your board, then we'll do ours?
Yeah, we can adjourn. Does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
We got a couple more items on that.
Oh, yeah, I thought we were all done.
I make a motion to adjourn the FAA meeting.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Roll.
Aye.
Aye.
Roll call.
Jane Bradshaw, aye.
Joan Gadecki, aye.
Robin Watson, aye.
Joshua Bussier, aye.
Michael Mayotte, aye.
Let the record reflect a 5-0 vote. What else? Oh, we have a couple more on the agenda, I'm sorry, you're right. Thank you, FAA, for your participation tonight. I forgot we get more stuff on the agenda.
We're not quite done. There's department heads.
Yeah, we had a couple, my fault. So we're gonna pass over 5E. Ms. DeShanes is not with us tonight, so she will, I'm not sure if she'll do it at our next meeting, which is before the town meeting. We'll put it on there, and if she has something to report, we can do it. If not, we can hold it off to our next
Okay.
public meeting. We'll just put it on just in
Right.
case she has an update. That good with the board?
Sure.
Departmental communication, treasurer collector.
Good evening. Open enrollment is right now. The cutoff is May 7th. That's a hard cutoff so that everything can be processed. Everyone should have received the paperwork. There's a sign-off for the declination of health insurance. There's also a sign-up. We've modified the Medicare A and B mandatory enrollment. Couple of questions on things like that. Back to Blue Cross not covering GLP-1s. A few different things happened, more information to come, but Blue Cross has done something. The Hampshire Council of Governments Insurance Trust Executive Committee is going to have a meeting on the 30th, and it would be discussion for the anticipated 1/1/2026 change. Beyond that, there's not going to be too much else. Everybody remember that your real estate tax bills are due 5/1. There's also going to be a water sewer bill coming out in the next 2 weeks or so. If you were driving a car and you didn't pay your excise bill, call the office. Make sure that that gets paid sooner rather than later, because they'll be going to the deputy collector very, very soon. Always say thank you very much as this is a busy time of year with mail going around. Everybody's got an excise. abatements, things like that. Appreciate all the cooperation. Second floor and the third floor, that everybody's getting their mails and the emails are getting forwarded. In addition to voicemail messages, it's always good to get that personal touch. Now, please speak with so-and-so, so-and-so, because they had a question on things. So always appreciated. I'm glad there was success tonight with the budget as presented. It's more than one or two iterations to go through, whether it's individual conversations or a complete sit-down with the financial team. I will make my own personal plea. I think Jeff Faulkner summed it up previously that the POET system is very much like the portable PFAS remediation. You can go through and clean a gym with little handy wipes, but it's not the most efficient way to do it. I think going forward, the larger project, as they showed with the 75 years, and of course, they did a great job presenting those numbers quite logically, it is probably the best for all concerned. It's a headache, and I think it's the best way to have it addressed. I've been praising the virtues of the SRF. No or low interest loans, in addition to we get our bridge loans. So during the construction, we don't have funds sitting dormant. It's a well-run process that we've used a few times and with a great deal of success. So it's for everybody's benefit to go through and move that forward. I know there's some interests that have maybe a different opinion. At the end of the day, everybody should have their clean water, and to deliver it at a decent price, I think, is a good thing. So I thank you very much.
Rich, we appreciate that support at the town meeting.
I'll go to the podium right after you. Actually, if you, I know it's after 9 o'clock, but an extra 60 seconds. I think what was explained this evening was great. I think the analogy of it's better handled on a larger scale is probably the way to go. The more people extolling the virtue of the program, it's the best way to do it. You don't want anybody to drink water that's been deemed unfit for consumption, and it's the long term. It's, nobody's going to be here in 75 years for the. You might. For the
Olivia maybe, but I don't know.
So I stand corrected. So yes, absolutely. I'm happy to ring the bell. On my end, a little bit more paperwork, but it's the best for everybody. No interest loans, principal forgiveness, and there's a great deal of validation because it's not done internally. The oversight goes straight from tie and bond out to the state, which gives us our bridge funding as we're doing the construction. So,
thank you.
Alrighty.
Town accountant. Good. Police chief.
Good evening. Just one quick thing. Little League Parade, Saturday at noontime. Hopefully the weather is nice. We're going to close down West Main like we usually do. Go down West Main towards Village and end at the Little League Park. So bear with us and cheer the kids on. Thank you.
Thank you, chief. Oh, treasurer collector.
Always leave them smiling. So we're early this year. I have strawberry shortcake tickets in the collector and treasurer's office now, so.
Early festival right around the corner.
No. But we have them early, so it is a good thing we've got the signs up, so thank you.
What is it, the third week in June?
Yeah, third Thursday.
19th.
19th.
There it is.
ATA?
No.
UDA?
No, thank you.
The legal counsel.
Landry?
No, sir.
Mr. Siganovich?
I think I said enough earlier, but I'll say it again. I think there was a lot of discussion about the water line. I think 80% of it had nothing to do with the water line. So I think going forward, when we talk about this, I think we need to stick to the meat and potatoes of it, because there is a choice. It's this or that. It's fixed or variable. It's this or that. If we want to talk about who owns a road and poison and whatever else, whatever, that's ancillary. But I think people are really concerned about money and how much it's going to cost. And I think we need to stick to that center thing of A or B, variable or fixed, this much or this much. Because it's one of those two. It's not any of that other stuff, really doesn't matter. That's all. Thank you.
I'm just gonna jump on that real quick. Again, can't emphasize enough, the 14.2 is the amount that the state requires us to potentially borrow. The cost-sharing agreement with Gentex is not finalized yet, but as council and engineer said, if we assume a 50-50 split, 6.6 million with a 40% contingency on some of the construction, so we should be fine. On behalf of the Board of Health, thank everyone for Earth Day. I know we all got an email, I don't have it in front of me, but it was something like 2,000, what'd they send out? 2,000 bags, or something, it was a crazy number, but for all who participated in Earth Day, thank you, thank the Board of Health for running it. And at this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
The second have is Mr. Landry. All in favor, state aye. Aye. Thank you, everyone, have a